welcome to our first NEL show for the year 2023 at the time that we're recording this. I am so glad to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in, for watching the replay, for watching these years and decades later, because it's a conversation that I believe would be relevant, or you would need to look back to refer to how things were years ago. I'm a very future forward legacy thinking kind of person. So let's get Dr. Wale in the building so that we can get right into it. We are so appreciative of Dr. Wale choosing to do this. Okay, so once it comes on, we get to his profile and then we get to the questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Wale, for choosing to do this. Good
morning. Good morning.
So happy
Good morning.
To have you here. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here as well. Yeah, I'm happy to be here as well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm excited. All right, let's get into your profile. Dr. Olawale Tokunbo Ogulano is a medical doctor, entrepreneur, and a public health advocate. He currently works as a director of philanthropy and social impact at Deep Knowledge Philanthropy, a data-driven technology investment group based in the UK. He graduated from the Russian National Research Medical University in Moscow, Russia in 2012, and he has spent the last decade practicing in Nigeria. As a public health advocate, he consistently shares and simplifies public health information on social media platforms. He is the founder of Cavetin Global, a conglomerate developing tech solutions in education, entertainment, and health, alongside Dr. Chinonso Ejemba, a Aproko doctor. He is also the co-founder of the 100K Club, a non-profit organization that helps vulnerable Nigerians defeat health poverty. He also serves as the medical director and board member at Cavesbury Hospital and Healthcare Limited, a health service provider in Lagos. Thank you so much for joining us again, Wale.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to go straight to the meat of the matter because of the time that we have, which is great enough to help us achieve it. But before we go to that, to those questions that we Nigerians want answers to, I would like you to please share how you started your medical journey. What was it for you? At what point did you say, this is what I want to do? Because this is a noble call. I do think, I personally respect medical doctors a lot. I think their schedule, everything in between is a lot of sacrifice. So what made you pick this path as one that you wanted to follow and pursue? And then from your profile, you have even launched into different other paths around public health.
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. And to answer your question directly, one of the things I've always had has been a passion to teach, a passion to share. And ideally, when you look at the word doctor itself, it means teacher. So getting into that space has always been like a priority for me, to teach people, and it got reinforced during my years. I realized that I was spending a lot more time teaching people about their health than actually treating them. That was one. And then number two, I didn't have enough time educating, Nigerians generally about their health, because if you work in a government setting or in any hospital setting, I mean, there are almost 1,000 patients that are waiting for you. The doctor-patient ratio in Nigeria is outrageous. So you don't have enough time to give them the information. And I realized that so many Africans, so many Nigerians are lacking of information. So at the time when I decided to start this, I was privileged to also meet my friend, who is also like is like a brother to me now, that's Aproko doctor. So when we decided to really pursue this pathway into public health advocacy that we do currently, and alongside that, we also grew into philanthropy, which is where I find myself now really active, not just for the 100K Club, but for the organization I work with as well. So that was just how my pathway moved. So it wasn't as if it was totally defined, but I think it all started from the fact that I wanted to do more than just being in the forecourt.
Okay, we're back. We'll just continue from where we were. Email that. No, now. It's really amazing. Okay, let me try to send a request myself because I don't know why that is going. Says cannot join. Okay. Okay, Dr. Wale, I'm trying to add you. It's saying, okay, that you cannot join, but let me try again. Okay, it has worked now. Thank you so much. My network just disappeared. I had to change to another network. Thank you. Yeah. So you were sharing in summary about the work you now do in the philanthropy space. If you could please just start up. That was where we were before the thing went off the network.
So basically, the whole idea is my journey moving into public health advocacy also pushed me directly into philanthropy, which is what I do. You know, right here in Nigeria with the 100K Club alongside Akoko Doctor, and also with a company that I've been engaged with for the past 1 year and more. So we are exploring, basically we are trying to explore the use of data science in philanthropy, like to improve philanthropy across the world. So that's what I do now. That's what I'm into. Are
you based in Nigeria, or like you go back and forth, or you're not even in Nigeria at all?
Well, I'm in Nigeria. I'm very, very much in Nigeria, suffering all the suffering with Nigerians. Yes, so I feel everything that Nigerians feel. Yes, I do go out a lot. I travel, but I'm in Nigeria, very much in Nigeria. In fact, as a matter of fact, I think throughout 2022 was it? I didn't even leave. I think I didn't even leave Lagos. So if I remember, yes. So yeah, there's that.
Details in health with doctor is laughing.
Yeah, that must be Dr. Ron. That must be Dr. Ron. Yeah. So hi, Dr. Ron.
Thank you for joining us. Okay, so well, let's get to some of the. But Dr. Ali, I'm sure you would have heard it, at least since you are in Nigeria, at least based a lot, majorly in Nigeria. We've heard there are cases which is one of the reasons why I brought you. We've heard of negligence. The other day, there are a lot of case studies, but the other day it was one. I think his name was Rico Suave, where he was rushed to a hospital, which day was the 9th, and it seemed like the nurses and the medical personnel there, they were just having like a field time, whatever, snapping pictures, doing videos, and so on and so forth. And we've had situations whereby, at least maybe all not documented publicly, but situations whereby maybe accident victims will be taken to hospitals and people will be like, no, I'm sorry, I can't help, or move them to this hospital or the other. That's negligence culture, or at least that's how we are able to interpret it. Maybe you give us better insight into that. Why is that? Let's even start from accident victims. Is the call especially for doctors, not to save lives. So why would an accident victim be brought into your hospital, for instance, and instead of the hope and confidence to help this person live again. It looks like there's a lot of fear of, oh, I don't want to record deaths in my hospital, or I don't want this person to die on my hands. And we see that instead, and the person ends up dying because of negligence or because of the lackadaisic way. Some, of course, this is not all. I'm not saying this is what happens in all hospitals or with all doctors, but the way some have treated such people. So I would really like you to please speak on negligence. We've got a lot of case studies that we can bring up of people that have lost their loved ones. Another one I want to bring up before I allow you to speak is this man who came to report on the blog. Long story short, he took his wife, this happened in Port Harcourt, he took his wife for delivery, everything was fine. Then they kept going back and forth in the delivery, kept asking the doctor in charge, what's going on, what's happening? He said, oh, she needs to move to this room, then she needs to move to that room, then she needs to move to that room. When it was 3 a.m., he kept looking for that doctor that kept telling him that his wife needed to move around. Long story short, he didn't even find the doctor again, that the doctor signed out that his colleague will come and take over. The summary of it is this man lost his wife, and it was a young marriage, and lost his baby. So I'm just wondering, like, how are you, like, how do people continue to live life in that way? Are those, what category of people are like that, or are they, or act like that, or are there things that we don't know? Which is why I want to have this conversation. So it's not like, oh, we're just assuming. Are there things that we don't know that these people are struggling with that causes such negligence? I think I'll stop there for you to comment.
Okay, I think you make some very great points there, and the fact is that medical negligence actually occurs when a doctor or a healthcare professional provides substandard or non-existent treatment to a patient that leads to injury, harm, or loss of life, right? So there are several. I'm going to take it from the patient perspective and then from the doctor's perspective, right? Okay. So ideally, the expectation of a patient when they come seeking care is that they will get the best care, and then they will see like the right results, hoping for the best. So most times it turns out that that is the scenario, and then in other scenarios, in other cases, it doesn't turn out to be so. The most important thing is that I think one of the first challenges that medical practitioners have with Nigerians or with patients generally, especially in this part of the world, is that they don't communicate. They don't communicate, right? Why you see me spending so much time communicating to patients is because, like outside right here, is because they need to understand every step of the way what is going on. Because, for instance, if to say an accident victim comes, right? You need to communicate to the patient that, oh, we can handle this. This is what is going to cost you. This is what you need. These are the interventions that we are going to do right now. Let's go. We will stay alive. Then the next thing that I'm going to mention is also going to be from the perspective of the doctor, right? Okay. So there is something called like there is a code that doctors abide by, and the code is to do no harm, right?
Okay.
Right. So most times when patients come, many patients, most often than not, you don't know the capacity of the doctor that you are going to meet. Whether it's a doctor that has, a broad experience on the kind of emergency that is coming to him, or not. Or not. So in cases like that, what happens is that, for instance, if a patient comes in now, and I know very well that I can't handle this case, so there are two things I would do. Is either I decide to lie to the patient, or I refer the patient to a place where I know they will get the best care. So in most cases, doctors will follow that rule, that do no harm. So if this patient cannot be well handled here, then what we do is that we follow a referral protocol. But two things happen in a referral protocol. First of all, it is expected that you try as much as possible to stabilize the patient. So stabilize in the sense that ensure that the airway of the patient, so you just follow the A, B, and C of resuscitation, right? So the airway, the breathing, and circulation, you make sure that those things are working, those things are fine, right? If those things are established and they are okay, and you've been able to intervene and ensure that circulation is okay, that's maybe if the person is bleeding out, you are able to stop the bleeding and then administer fluids so that the person doesn't go into shock and die, or the person is not breathing well, you resuscitate the person back, or the airway is blocked one way or another, and then you reestablish access into the airway. If you can do those three things, right, and then you can't attend to the innate, that's the real situation that brought them there in the first place, then the doctor can choose that, okay, this patient I have stabilized, I have done my best, so I need to move this patient to a place where they have the right capacity. I was just talking to my electrician. So he does all the electrical work in our house and in some other places. And 6 months ago, around Winners, he had an accident, right? He had a terrible accident that knocked him out unconscious, and I think he woke up maybe 1 month or 2 months afterwards, the whole thing. So it was later on, when he was now narrating the experience, he now mentioned this same thing, this same conversation that we are talking about, that they first took him to one particular hospital in Ota. And when they took him to that hospital, they now said that this case, we can't handle it here, that we need to move this patient to Abeokuta right now as soon as possible. And then they gave some drugs. I saw that they gave him mannitol, some type of drip that prevents brain inflammation and all those things. You know, and when he was telling it to me, it was as if he was saying that what they did to him at that hospital that didn't attend to him was a bad thing. And I told him no. In fact, the reason you are alive, is because those people took the right step at the right time. It's because they followed the protocol, and the protocol is you stabilize and then you refer. That was exactly the protocol that they followed. So many Nigerian patients are not patient enough, and sometimes doctors don't communicate enough to let them know that this is what is being done. So in as much as maybe they are trying their best here, he still needs to go to a center of excellence that will specialize in that particular issue. So when they moved this my electrician, they moved into Abeokuta, FMC Abeokuta. They did CT scan for him, they did MRI for him. The neurosurgeon came there, reviewed, and then they had a surgery for him and all of that. Today he's walking on his own feet. He's walking on his feet. His reflexes are perfect. Everything. In fact, the only thing you will see is just the scar of the accident, right? So the essence of so medical negligence, right? Back to the topic, it can happen in two ways. If a doctor, in fact, the thing is, if a doctor causes harm, now, okay, let's dial back a little bit to the story that I mentioned, right? The hospital, the first hospital that he went to and that he was rushed to, do you think that the patient, that the hospital did harm to him?
No. Now that you've explained it, no.
Exactly. So, but in the context of a Nigerian patient, those people did not know what they are doing.
Okay, yes, that is true. Yes.
Many Nigerians will say that, that hospital, they don't know what they are doing. Whereas, you are the one that preserved the life of that patient. And as I said, the protocol is to do no harm. Right? So I've seen different scenarios. Like, for example, I've had a patient that was in my hospital for several months, and at a point I was thinking of referring him, but I knew that if I referred him, to a general hospital, the chances of him dying will have even be higher. So I decided to call in, a surgeon who came in, reviewed him, and then started providing the right care. And after a few months, like about 3 months or thereabouts, he got back on his feet. So the most important thing in medicine is to do no harm. Now, are there scenarios where patients have been where doctors have been negligent? Yes, absolutely yes. And if you've been paying attention to different type of stories, you can establish negligence in different ways. For example, when you have a surgery on a patient, it is expected that the first 24 hours of that patient, you are actively monitoring the person. You have to assume that the patient is not stable. So you have to, every doctor has to be like an eagle. You have to have an eagle eye on the patient within that first 24 hours, because one of the risks that can happen is internal bleeding, and internal bleeding itself can kill anybody in an instant, because the patient is not conscious enough to tell you that I'm bleeding internally. So you have to look at it and observe, right? So there are certain scenarios, yes, in Nigeria where medical negligence happens. But then I think there are also situations where Nigerian patients are not well aware that which the doctor or the medical professional is doing to you is actually going to save you. The chances of saving you is higher following that plan than you staying with him and thinking that you are not doing anything for him. So those are the two areas. However, I would still say that one of the challenges that patients or the whole Nigerian health space has is a problem with capacity. So like I mentioned earlier, Nigerians expect that every doctor will know everything. And that is not how medicine works, right? In as much as I know how to take a delivery and how to take care of wounds and all of that, it doesn't mean that I would open someone's brain and start operating on it. No, that's the work of a neurosurgeon. It's not my work, right? So at my level, at least every doctor should be competent enough to know who to call, right? So that is the whole idea of medical care. So that when you go meeting a doctor, the doctor knows that it's either at this level, this is what you need, and then I know who to call and where to move your case to so that you can get the best care. That's what medicine is all about. But Nigerians always expect that every Nigerian doctor must be a neurologist, a neurosurgeon, an endocrinologist, a surgeon, an obs and gynae. It doesn't work like that. There are several fields in medicine presently. There are almost, at least that I can remember, at least over 24 that I can remember, or like almost like 20 something that if I want to remember, different fields, and new fields of medicine are actually coming in every day, like nuclear medicine. Nuclear medicine is now becoming a thing, right? So new fields of medicine are coming out each day. And you don't expect one doctor to be so versatile at every single angle. So when you meet a doctor, right? When you meet a doctor in the hospital, the doctor must be competent enough to make a provisional or a diagnosis. And then after making that diagnosis, he knows the appropriate treatment plan or refer you to the appropriate specialist that will be able to recommend the proper treatment plan, or maybe a combination of the two, right? So that is why I said it's a combination of, there is a challenge of shortage of the right capacity to handle this kind of care, this kind of thing. That's why you see many doctors doing many things, right?
Yes.
Which if you go to Europe, if you go to America, you are never going to see a thing like that. You are going to see them refer people to the centers of excellence in those particular places, right? So yes, medical negligence exists, but I think it's down to the capacity of the health professionals, and then poor communication, and then also a poor a level of ignorance from the side of Nigerian patients to understand the capacity of health professionals that are rendering care in the facilities or in any hospital that they find themselves in.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wale. That has been very insightful, really insightful. That takes me to, is there a standard in the medical space for opening a hospital, or is it healthcare center, I should call it, or is it clinic? Perhaps, because I've not researched the difference before now, you can help us know the difference. What is the difference between a hospital, a clinic, a healthcare center? And is there a standard? Because I've passed through some places. I remember one time I was trying to work on something, and I was passing through a hospital. My husband and myself were taking a walk, and I walked into, it was a new hospital. And they said, I said, oh yeah, like I want to check, I just wanted to check a few things. And where's your doctor? They said that the doctor is not on seats. And I was just wondering, I don't understand that he went somewhere, should we call him? That sort of thing. It was a new hospital in some sort of remote place, maybe not so remote. And I see their point, I see their heart that they're trying to create health service for that space. But isn't there a standard, or is it something that, well, if you feel like doing it, if you have the love in your heart, just feel free to open it up. I would like you to please answer that, but help us with the difference, because I hear clinic, I hear healthcare service, or what is a health center, then I also hear hospitals. Are they all the same but all different names? So those two, then I'll ask one final question on negligence before we move on to the other aspects.
Yeah, well, the truth is that there are different levels, and each of those things actually matter. Like, for example, in a clinic, it determines the naming of a place will determine one of two things. It will determine the type of personnel you'll find there and the scope of services that you will find there. For instance, you cannot visit a clinic and you think that a fibroid surgery will be happening there. Do you get, or a myomectomy? They won't be performing all those kind of procedures there. That would most likely be performed in a hospital, right? So, and then there are different tiers. There you have clinics. You know, the funny part is that even as it is, these naming conventions are currently being abused, because let's be honest, even if some primary health centers, you know, some certain surgeries that are not even supposed to be done there are being done there, right? So, but because Nigeria is Nigeria and we need to try to please everybody, so that is why we see some certainty. However, the fact remains that depending on where you go to, if you visit a clinic, it determines the kind of people, the kind of health professionals you will meet there, and the scope of services that you will meet. For example, in a clinic, you go to any clinic, like maybe just a regular doctor's clinic, you can meet somebody like Dr. Wale there, just prescribing drugs, giving injections, and then maybe doing like a limited amount of surgery to a certain extent, right? In a hospital, you will see mostly minor surgeries, minor to major surgeries. Then in specialist hospitals, you will see most likely major to major surgeries, you know, so that kind of scope. So there is always for example, a neurosurgery will be performed at a specialist facility or at a super specialist hospital, right? So that is how it is. So looking at that will determine the kind of people you will find there. So what you will find in a super specialist hospital, you will find most likely consultants, residents, people who are specializing in a particular angle. So for example, now if you go to National Orthopedic Hospital now, you will see more of people who are into orthopedics. You will see more of resident orthopedics. You will see more of consultant orthopedics there, because that is a center of excellence for orthopedics and bone diseases, right? So ideally, in every state of the country, there are supposed to be special areas of excellence. So a cardiac center, everything, there should be centers of excellence in all of these places, handling all these cases like this. But it's not what it is, and Nigeria is Nigeria. So that is why everybody has to try to do even what is not in their scope or what is within their scope of activity. So that's why you will see a clinic doing a CS, right? And a CS is a major operation. Let's be honest. It is actually a major operation. So a cesarean section is a major operation if we are looking at it by all means. So those are the issues.
Dr. Wale, to ask, a primary health care center, are they supposed to cater to pregnant women as well, or what is that center for at the core? I mean, when it's not being abused, what is really the essence? Because a lot of times in Nigeria, before you start talking, people say, oh, visit your primary health care center. So is this supposed to just be for malaria and typhoid? It looks, the word primary looks like, okay. Well, I'm sure you can.
The thing is, primary health care centers, if you follow the name, it is the first point of care. So for instance, I will say this, most of the cases that are being handled in lawsuits right now, like we can say a major percentage of what is being handled in tertiary hospitals are supposed to be handled on the primary healthcare level. They are supposed to be handled. So a primary health center, most of the, I can tell you this for free, most of the things that you would need, or especially like a major part of your life, can be handled at the level of a primary healthcare center. For example, you're pregnant, you need to do your antenatal, you can do it there. If you're going to have a vaginal delivery, you can do it there. If you need to get immunization for yourself or your children, you can do it there. If you have primary diseases such as malaria, typhoid, or periodic respiratory diseases or anything like that, you can have it there. So, and when you look at it from a general, diarrhea can be handled there, right? So most of those things can actually be handled there. But it turns out that many primary healthcare centers are not well equipped to handle those things. They just give them the name. They don't give them what makes them a primary health center, right? And that is why that gap is being filled by, private hospitals, private clinics, and then those that are now angry that those two or those areas are not doing them well, they now start going to teaching hospitals, disturbing doctors that are supposed to be focused on more specialized cases. And that's the fact. And that's the absolute fact.
It's quite unfortunate. Okay, so let's talk about what do you think causes some doctors to misdiagnosis, and then the public health sector in Nigeria. What do you think? What do you think being in this country can we do to make it better? In other countries, the primary place people go to is their public health care sector. But in this place, it looks like, well, especially when you've got into a certain class of NE, it looks like, what's that? Like, I should go there and be queuing. What was that supposed to mean? But some of the best specialists work in those places or are employed by those places. I know that they go around moonlight, they're in different other hospitals as well, consulting. So what can we do better to make our public health care center acceptable? Because I do think that people only go there when it looks like, oh, their money is not up to a certain amount, that they go there. That's not a place that the average Nigerian is thinking of going, first of all. And then secondly, misdiagnosis is some of the things that have caused problems, even deaths in certain lives of individuals. What can be done? What the doctors need to know better to do better to not misdiagnose? And when I mean misdiagnose, quickly giving a verdict too soon, too quickly, that can be harmful to the patient, or not giving it quick enough, or saying something entirely from what is true or what is going on with that patient. So it's a 2-in-1 question. I hope you got it.
I would start with the issue of, misdiagnosis, and how the truth is most in clinical care, the principle is to start from what you know and move to what you do not know. So most times it is not always, because you can't be completely accurate. with symptoms. And the truth is, symptoms are not necessarily generic to any particular disease. For example, the same way you feel when you have malaria is the same way you feel when you have COVID. You can't really you can't really distinguish it. But will you say that you were wrong suspecting malaria? No. However, what will make you better as a doctor is that your diagnosis should be following, taking a good history of the patient, so knowing what brought the patient there in the first place, physically examining the patient or examining the root cause, that's what the patient, where the patient is complaining about, or just a general physical examination of the patient. Then, after that, also reviewing relevant clinical investigations. Then, when you bring those three together, you can now say that, yes, of a truth, looking at this from each of these angles, this is the direction we are going to. Yes, most times, doctors with experience, most times they already know. For instance, if someone walks to me with malaria symptoms, I will more or less, I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years, I will more or less know. If someone comes into me, comes into my clinic with a complaint of, with a symptom that is more pointing towards appendicitis, I should be able to diagnose it. However, I think I would not, at this point also, not be too overconfident to just say that, because that's what happens in most scenarios, that it's appendicitis, so let's go and remove. No, it is always important that as a doctor, you must still follow that principle. Whether you have practiced 10 years, whether you practice 100 years, the principle must always remain the same, so that the margin for error will always be minimal. The fact is that doctors don't know it all, so there will always be a margin for error. But the most important thing is to make sure that the error, the margin, is minimal. It's minimal. And now with the current trends of new technologies and artificial intelligence, on a certain level, the cadre of just a physician can literally be taken care of with technology. So they ask the right questions, and then from there they can tell you to go do this, do that, do this, do that. So on some level, we are going to be seeing more of specialized care in the future. Doctors are going to be more specialized in nature, more of, for example, you see more of a dermatologist, more of you see more of a surgeon or an endocrinologist or a cardiologist or a cardiothoracic surgeon. So you have people like that. We are going to be having more people committed into those specific and specialist roles. So those also help. And I think the basic issue here is that we have a big gap with the amount of the healthcare workforce. So you cannot fix that with you can't fix that with just anything. You have to fix the root problem. The root problem is that one doctor attends to practically 8,000 patients, and I say this, and I even say it is about ×2 of that in the realistic sense. For instance, it can be 1 to maybe 4,000 in Lagos, but in Kano or in some places in Katsina, it's about 1 to 20,000 patients, one doctor to 20,000 patients. So what happens in such kind of scenario? You get fatigued, tired, exhausted medical doctors who have not slept. And I always say this before, a fatigued and a tired doctor is a dangerous doctor. You don't want him to attend to you. And most often than not, 80% of the scenario that we see in Nigerian settings is a tired doctor that you are seeing, an exhausted doctor. You are probably the 100th patient he's seeing. What do you think he will say? Is malaria and typhoid be going? Okay? So we need to adjust that gap. Either maybe ensuring that repeated activities of malaria and typhoid is delegated to technology, and doctors can focus more on things that are more of their capacity and their calling, or we get the right doctors and fit them into those places so that people don't gap out easily and then reduce the quality of the care that they provide. So it's a mix of things, and a lot of things need to be done. It's not something that will just be addressed today, but the most important thing is the will has to come from those in the leadership, right, to address the issues. Because as it is now, in every week, I think it's every day, at least close to half a dozen doctors leave Nigeria. Half a dozen doctors are leaving Nigeria. So how do we plug that leak? How do we plug that gap? It's by being intentional enough to say, look, we are calling a state of emergency on healthcare in Nigeria, and we need to address the problem. And trust me, it's not just a doctor's thing. It filters down to the nurses, it filters down to the laboratory scientists or technicians, it spills down to the health assistants, it spills down to the administrative workforce in the hospital, everybody. It's not just one thing. So because healthcare is a service, and it's a service that is rendered by different people coming together to play a teamwork. So a lot of things still need, still are still left to be desired, but we hope that they get the right attention.
Okay, so what would be your thoughts before I move to the next question on the whole public health space? I just want to get your brief thoughts on why it is not generally acceptable by a lot of Nigerians. A lot of Nigerians go there when they almost have no option. What can be done to make that better? Is there anything that can be done to make that situation of our public health space better? I'm talking about the public hospitals, or what you call government hospitals in the country.
Well, yes, you make a very good point, and I understand that receiving public care sometimes, in most cases, is not desirable. Yeah. Although I would say that to a certain extent things have started changing, but in most cases, right, the service, either the service is poor, coming from the standpoint of the environment that you are in, or coming from the service personnel that maybe you met a nurse and the nurse is rude, or you met the doctor is just not empathic enough, or things like that. Yes, or you go to a hospital, they tell you that there's no bed space. Look, it is multifactorial. But I think it all boils down to the fact that attention is not being paid. Not enough attention is being paid to healthcare in Nigeria. And it all comes down to how we value life. It comes down to our sense of how we value life. How do we value human life? When you look at it from the Nigerian perspective, you will see that that is why perhaps we are not paying so close attention to healthcare. Because a government that values human life will always prioritize its healthcare sector. Always. You go to the UK, right? NHS is free. Of course, they pay their taxes, but they have free healthcare to a very, very large and appreciable extent, right? Billions of pounds. And let me tell you something. Good healthcare is expensive, and somebody must pay for it. It is either the government pays for it or the individual pays for it. But the general perspective of healthcare is that healthcare is expensive. For instance, a CT scan machine, a computer tomography scan machine, is not worth of about 500 million naira. Not worth, around. Might have even increased, If I, as a hospital owner, number one, where do I want to see the funding of 500 billion to buy a CT scan machine? And who will I pass on the 500 million naira debt to? How will I pass it on to the Nigerians that they will say, this is too expensive, I'm not doing it here? Okay? Healthcare is expensive, and somebody must pay for it. If the government is not paying for it, in Nigeria, the government expenditure on healthcare is about 3.5% of its of its national budget. That is everything, 3.5%. And about 70% of that 3.5 is used for recurrent expenditure, which is like payment of salaries, emoluments, and all. Okay? And then, as if that is now not, as if that is now not enough, right? Doctors are not paid, nurses are not well paid, everybody's salaries are owed, and even the due diligence that they are supposed to do, they are not doing it enough. So the required, the required amount of expenditure that a nation should spend on its healthcare system is 15%. Nigeria is still doing 3.5%. So I'll ask you, why would you expect, or why would Nigerians expect that they will find good public healthcare? The funding is poor. The funding is practically non-existent, and if not for the abundance of some certain and the intent of some certain NGOs and organizations and good-willing individuals that say, I want to do this for this hospital, most of the hospitals that you see today, you won't be getting it. So go to every public hospital that exists today that is doing well. You will see that there has been some intention to a certain extent of the government, either the state government or the federal government, to prioritize care in those places. And some level of funding was pushed to those places, right? So the intention has to be there. The value for human life has to be there. And I think, as I said, it all boils down to the value. If there's a value for human life, all this wouldn't be an issue. If we have a leadership that has value for human life, we don't need to worry ourselves over that, because things will be prioritized. They will prioritize healthcare and ensure that everything that is within the scope of healthcare, which is the infrastructure itself, the workforce, they will make sure that all those things are prim and proper.
Okay, we'll start to round up now. We already know the source of the Japa syndrome, like it's being called in Nigeria. But Dr. Wale, is there anything, what do you think can be done to cushion the effect? Because as it is now, you can't hold anybody's leg and tell them to not travel out. If the person wants a better financial space for their family and that's what they want to do, you can't drag anybody. But what can we do to cushion this effect of, we're already saying 1 doctor to 8,000 people. So what can we do to cushion this effect? Do we need to, is it that medical trainees or interns will now step into those spaces, or what can be done in the interim while Nigerians are doing the best to make sure that they vote the best person that can occupy that office and make the medical space a priority? I would like you to please just chip in on that. Maybe one last question.
The truth is that, now let me now shock you. Those that are doing their internship are already writing flaps to leave. So,
wow.
So it's not even, the fact is that the interest is not there. And when you look at it, the major issues that are affecting them, it's when, what we call push and pull. There are different push and pull factors that are causing this. High insecurity. I mean, some doctors have gotten kidnapped. Some doctors were murdered while at their work. Recently, we got that information. A doctor was killed in the office, in the hospital, by a walking patient, right? When you see those kind of things, doctors are unpaid. In Abia State, for example, doctors have been unpaid for 6 months. So, really, it all boils down to number one, do we value life here? Because any doctor who has been as practice in Nigeria long enough, especially in the public sector, you will understand that at the basis of it all, there is really no value for human life. Because as a doctor, you swear an oath, right, to take care of patients, but you are given with the right tools. Part of it requires you having the right tools to save them. It's part of the oath. So why would you just give me a room and you expect that I should start saving life there? You don't give me the tools. You don't provide the infrastructure. There are no personnel. you frustrate the people, the consultants that are there. In fact, the most painful of it all is that it is the consultants, people who have spent years training and have become specialists. They are even the ones that are leaving. They are the ones that are leaving and living massively. And trust me, the windows and the doors of those other developed countries, we take them in because they have better skill in their hands, you know. So it's all boils down to, what do we want as Nigerians? If we keep electing leaders that will not prioritize healthcare, that will not prioritize your own life, that you will elect them into power and they will be traveling abroad to seek healthcare, while you don't have visa, you don't have money to go abroad and seek that same healthcare that they are getting, what does it say of you as a person? So it calls to question the kind of people. If we truly value human life, I think one of the most important things we will ever ask anybody that is coming to meet us for our vote is that, what do you want to do with my health? How are you going to improve my health? And it's not just to build a house and call it hospital. No, it is not. If it is by building, that hospitals are made, then I can kuku just call my house a secondary healthcare facility because I'm a doctor and I'm living inside the house.
Right, true.
It is not buildings. Yes, it is not buildings that make the hospital. It is the workforce and the infrastructure and the use and the mix of the two of them that make the hospital. So it's all down to us. Really, all these issues are coming from the fact that there is a lot of, pushing factors, things that are pushing people out than things that are pulling them back in. I mean, I've had like 8 out of 10 of my people are abroad. And it is not because of the work that I am doing currently. I probably would have been with them too, but the question is that many of them left because of poor remuneration, poor infrastructure to properly practice to the apex of their career, right? No value for human life, right? Then, it is so bad that doctors, okay, it is fine that you are not even paying them well. Why would you delay their salaries? Why would you even delay their arrears? Yet, senators, governors are getting their salaries steady. Steady. It is unsaid. It is unthought of. In developed countries of the world, you can't hear that a senator is earning more than a doctor. It is either they are earning the same, or the doctor, if he's a specialist, is even earning higher. A neurosurgeon in the US is earning nothing less than $1 million per year in a year, and that's even if he's not doing any serious private practice. I have a doctor in Australia who, he earns, when you look at his practice and other things, he earns close to $500,000 per year. So, if I know that one, I know that I can end that. My other doctor friend knows that he can do that, knows all of that. And Nigeria, they are owing you your salary. Why would anyone even want to say? And this has nothing to do with oath or anything. It's just practical sense. Because doctors now, you can't even send your child to school. You don't have savings. And you know what? The funny part is that Nigerians think that doctors have money. Hello, a Nigerian doctor doesn't have money. If you see a Nigerian doctor, just slide 50 naira inside his pocket. That doctor, thank you. Or it's not even, what can 50 naira buy? Slide 1,000 naira inside his pocket and tell him, thank you, doctor. Because doctors don't have money. The fact is that at the point where it is with the way things are, doctors do not even have the capacity to take care of themselves or people that are under them. So when they see opportunities that can call out better for them, that can put them in better financial positions to take care of themselves, and then they also get satisfaction from the practice, of course, they will they know. So that is push.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so final question for you. We've got a rapid fire question session for you. It's just 2 minutes, but I just want to close out with this final session before we go to your rapid fire question, so we work with time. And I will merge, what do you think is the future of the medical space in Nigeria? And I would like you to speak a bit about medical insurance. It's still a struggle for a lot of insurance company. If you are not paying, I mean, the whole essence of insurance, I think it's supposed to be that it subsidizes your payments, but there are a lot of insurance where people will buy this insurance, then they go to the hospital and they're arguing with the hospital versus the insurance. So I just want to know, what are your thoughts on that and what can be done better, and the future of the medical space in Nigeria that you see? And then that will be all. We'll just take your rapid fire question and let you go.
Okay, I think personally for me, I think that the future of the Nigerian healthcare space, there is a lot of room for growth.
Okay.
Technology to some certain extent will allow us bridge some certain gaps. So, for instance, it is easier for Nigerians to get access to medical information now than ever before. So ignorance is changing. So the level of ignorance that people had before regarding their health is also changing. Then I think if extreme poverty, because as I said, the only time when you want to buy health insurance is when you are eating in the morning. You can't buy health insurance. You can't buy health insurance when you have not eaten. Why will I come and meet you and talk about health insurance, whereas you are looking for bread and akara to eat in the morning? You say, bros, I beg, I never chop. So it leads me to this. Until we totally eliminate extreme poverty, and the key word there is extreme poverty, right? That is when we will be able to have better health insurance premiums for people and all of that. Because people have to be able to eat 3 square meals before they now say, oh, I'm sick, or I have malaria and I want to go to the hospital, right? So before they can afford that, they need to be able to afford the basic thing of life, which is survival. So if, which is a big if poverty, extreme poverty is taken away, then we can see health insurance also growing in tandem with that. Insurance penetration and all of that. As you can see, it was the same thing with, first of all, when just look at it, for instance, when phones came in and became a thing, I mean, extremely poor people could not afford it, right? But after a while, and it became popular, the technology became popular, then other people could afford it. And today, if you are able to save 4,000 naira, you can even buy a smartphone and you can be making calls. So yes, healthcare is still in that phase that GSM used to be about 20 years ago. That's where it is now.
True.
But technology, because it's growing at a rapid fire, we are going to be seeing more people being able to adopt these things in the future. And then also, as I said, as we are removing extreme poverty and people have better, capacity to know more about their health and make better choices for their health, then you will see them adopting health insurance. So this is what I see at least within the next decade. That's what I predict.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wale. Let's take your rapid fire question. You have to answer it within 30 seconds. Like, you can't spend more than 30 seconds answering it. Okay, the first is, what is your favorite color? Yes, what is your favorite color?
Oh, my favorite color, well, I have a lot of them, but my preferred color is white. Yeah, I like white.
What's your favorite? Okay, food.
Favorite food, wahala. Hey, wahala. Okay, but anyway, my favorite food that I know that I eat, that I know that any day I may not be able to resist it easily, is bread.
Okay. All right. What are you allergic to?
Do you mean like something that, like, is it like drugs or anything?
It could be health or emotionally, just anything you're allergic to. It could be any aspect of your life. Some people say they're allergic. Yeah, like it could be anything.
People say that Okay, it could be anything. Well, if it's drugs, I'm allergic to chloroquine. If it is about character, okay, I'm allergic. I'm allergic to people who are not respectful. I don't like people who are disrespectful. It's something that I'm totally innate against. And I'm also allergic to people who don't like who don't like to ideate, who don't like to take initiatives. Of yeah, it's something that irks me a lot. Yeah.
Okay. What is your best movie?
Woo! Wow, best movie. Wait, wait. This one is very hard. Wait, this one is very hard. Is this in recent time or all time?
No, anyone you want.
Anyone. If it's a movie that I can watch time and time again, The Dark Knight. So the one on Batman. Yeah, Dark Knight. Yeah, I can watch that. The Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah.
Trilogy. Okay, what of your best book?
Oof. My best book. Let me see. Does textbook count?
Yes, textbook counts. Yes, you can. Textbook also counts.
I think I would go with I'll go with Grey's Anatomy. Yeah, it made anatomy very easy for me then. Yeah.
Okay. So, were you born in Nigeria? Were you given birth to in Nigeria?
Yes, I was. Yes. I was given birth to in Nigeria. The Tokumbo in my name was that I came. I don't know why. They should have given birth to me back then in USSR, but for some reason they carried my pregnancy and brought it here to Nigeria to deliver. Right. So.
Okay, if you were not born in Nigeria, what country would you have liked to be born into?
That's a very, very simple question now. That's a very simple question. I would have loved to be born in Norway or the US at least. Yeah, but I think I'll go with Norway as my first country.
Okay. Gold or silver?
Gold.
Black or white?
Black.
You don't say white is your favorite color.
Yes, but I will still go with black.
Black.
Yes. White and black are two colors that you will always see me using them in equilibrium. So you see me using a bit of white, a bit of black, just like that. That's how I am.
Okay. Yellow or pink?
None.
Okay. What is one favorite thing about your wife? And there's even a whole conversation about it because Dr. Wale, look, you don't even look married. And I was discussing with you the other day. I did not think you were married. So, anyways, question: what is one favorite thing about your wife?
A favorite thing about my wife, I think she makes the world's best fried rice. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Amazing. Okay, nice. What is one of your favorite attire to wear?
Favorite attire?
Yes.
For me, no, Aproko Doctor is not going to win on this one. I go. You know why I said that? Because he always says that I go to toilet wearing suit and tie, which is not true actually. So I don't wear suit that much, for God's sake. So okay, but for me, what I can't go wrong with dressing casually. So I'm mostly a casual dresser these days because of the work I do. Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite thing to do?
Well, I like to write ideas down and kickstart ideas. I love to do that. I love to that for work. I love writing. So I love writing stuff, creating ideas. I'm fascinated by new technology. It's something I love. Then I love music. I can never, in fact, if it's about, you can't go wrong with music and me. I will always love music because I'm also an instrumentalist too. And then what's the final thing? I play games. And most people will not believe it, but I'm really good at games. Yeah. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
video games
What do you
actually, video games.
video games? Okay. What do you like to do for fun?
It's simple. I like to play video games because I know I'm very good. Yeah. So I beat a lot of people. So and also going out. I like to go out. Yeah, I like to go out to be with friends. Going out with friends, staying like with friends, hanging out with friends. I really like that. I really enjoy that. And then traveling too. Yeah.
Okay. Now that makes sense. Small chops or jollof rice?
Maybe I won't use much of it. Jollof rice now, please. Party jollof. Party jollof, please.
Okay. Fruits or vegetables?
Fruit.
Would you rather take the train or would you rather take a ship, railway or waterway?
Anything that has to do with water, I am not interested. The only water I am interested in is the water that I swam inside my mother's womb. Any other thing counts me out. Train for me, as long as my leg is on the ground. In fact, I have to deal with air travel, and I conquered I conquered that several years ago when I started medical school. But you see, water, my sister, please, let's respect ourselves. I don't.
Okay, so bus or an airplane? I think I know your answer to this.
Bus or airplane? In Nigeria, airplane. Other places, bus.
Okay.
Nigeria is not place for. I mean, I had to go to a lorry, and I was thinking about it that should I just take the bus or something, but I said no, I ain't doing that. We don't do that here. I will use flight to and fro. And same thing with Abuja. I also went to Abuja. I went by flight too. So yeah, but other places I love to take the bus. Cool.
Okay, writing or speaking? Which one do you prefer to do?
Hard question. I think it depends. But if we are to look at it now with my life now, I think it's speaking. Yeah.
Speaking. Okay. Rain or sunshine?
Sunshine. I told you I don't like water. And there is a research, that says that people who live in areas where they don't have enough sunshine have the tendency to be more depressed.
Okay.
Yes, there's a research. There's a research about that. So there you go. Advantage, sun, please.
Yes. Okay. Audio or visual? How do you like to learn best? Audio or visual?
Visual. Always visual.
A day at the beach or a day in one of your favorite restaurants?
I told you, anything that has to do with water. What I want to do with the beach? What I want to do with the beach? A day in a restaurant, in a favorite restaurant, my sister. Please, my
Yeah, the beach. You don't need to enter the water now, but okay. I get
no. Just see that water coming towards me. I don't. No.
All right, final question. If you had a magical wand and you could change just one thing in Nigeria, what would that thing that you would like to see changed, and why?
Yeah, the leadership of this country. That would be the first thing I would change. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because we need people who are selfless to the Nigerian cause. We don't need people who go there with the greed in mind to loot, but rather to give. We need people who are ready to give, right, rather than take from the government. And that is why I'm really hoping that in this election we can get somebody who has that mindset.
Okay. And then finally, what do you want to be remembered for?
For me, I think I want to be remembered as being, a force for good in the world. Generally, I want to be someone who, when people remember me, they remember the good that I was able to do despite my imperfections, that I was able to be a force for good at a normal level. And I really want to be remembered for making Nigeria a much better place and reversing the idea of people having to leave the country, but rather coming. So I want to be remembered as part of the people who played that role to encourage people to come back home.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Wale. This has been a very impactful session. Maybe at a different time, I would have liked us to, but it may be a full topic on its own where we can address herbal medicine versus modern medicine, the clash, the confusions, the clarity, and what we can do better, because that's a different topic on its own.
Yeah, that's a different topic, and it's a very interesting one. Yes. It's a very interesting one. I look forward to it.
I would schedule that and to work with your best available time. Thank you so much, Dr. Wale, and everybody that has chosen to be a part of this. It will also be on YouTube, on SAGENEL TV, so that more people in the world can get to be a part of this. Thank you, and have a
Thank you so much. Yeah, all right. Yeah, bye.